right, let's go ahead and kick things off. Welcome to Secret Spaces, everybody. This is a weekly Twitter space featuring contributors to Secret Network, builders building on the network, and news from around the ecosystem. And this week we have Serenity Shield with us, and Serenity Shield has just launched their app on mainnet. Been a long time coming. We've been talking with the Serenity Shield team for quite a long time now, and it's exciting to finally see this app launch on mainnet. So we're going to talk about what exactly it is that they've built and what it serves. And sounds like they're pretty busy right now. So we're going to see how much time they can afford. And let's just go ahead and jump into things. We have Nikos from the Serenity team with us. Nikos, how's it going?
Hey Patrick, great to catch up as always, and thanks for having us back again. It's been some time since we last had a conversation, I believe, so
Yeah,
long
it's been a little
overdue.
while. Yeah, for sure. So you guys have just launched on mainnet. Sounds like things are going pretty well. It's pretty busy.
Well, we're sort of caught in this, I guess, the two faces of Web3 at the moment because we launched as a blockchain technology only about a week ago, and now we're turning our focus to being a cryptocurrency for a little bit of time because we've got a token launch impending. So, unfortunately, we've not even really had a chance to stop and enjoy it. And it's onward and upward. So the two go hand in hand. You know, you've got the blockchain tech and the utility of the token required to make it a full functioning product. So it's a necessary thing that we have to do, and we're just pushing on. But yeah, the team are pretty flat out at the moment. Actually, the tech guys for the first time are probably a bit quieter. They're getting a bit of a break after the last few months, so they're taking a little bit of time out before it gets crazy after the new year. And it's all now more about front-facing marketing and all that kind of stuff that's a bit more operational.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. Let's just start with the basics then. For anybody who's not familiar with Serenity Shield and what you guys have built, maybe take us back to the beginning. We don't have to spend too long, but since we mentioned you guys have been building for, I don't know, a year at least, just take us back to how Serenity Shield began, the vision, and what it is that Serenity Shield StrongBox dApp is really providing.
Absolutely, no problem, Patrick. And I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's always important to go back to the beginning on this project because it's sort of changed and developed as it went along, answering the needs of the market, and then also kind of realizing, that we had bigger utility. So the whole premise of Serenity Shield and our StrongBox decentralized application was to solve this inherent problem of the seed phrase. And that was how, as a group, that we sort of came together and conceptualized something that we wanted to do. And there was at the time, if I remember right, it was about 2 years ago when I recall, there was a lot of news and media about this problem, and we ourselves had been victim in some capacity, whether it was myself through being locked out of leverage trading accounts or other colleagues like Boris, one of the founders, obviously having losses on AEX exchange. There was different things that basically made us really, really aware of the situation and the exposure that we had to centralized wallets. And to be fair, I'm always very transparent about this. I mean, privacy and everything like that was something I came to sort of indirectly by doing this. It took me time to really sort of wake up and be aware. And life is a journey like that. So the whole thing that we were working on was this problem of seed phrase. But in developing out our solution, we quickly realized that, that the market roundabout is shifting all the time. But equally, a seed phrase, like anything else, is just a bit of information. It's just another piece of data. So why stop with the offer at seed phrase? Why not allow users to utilize a solution that allows them to protect other pieces of information? And I know there's a lot of different chains and with their dApps and solutions that are doing data storage, but there wasn't many that were offering data storage on chain with recoverability and an inheritance solution built in. So that was the overall sort of problem we wanted to fix. And just for anyone that, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows the different issues with seed phrases and the problems that brings. But we were absolutely astonished at the value in terms of loss in the market that had come the years prior to that, and continues to increase through really kind of three verticals, and the main ones being through carelessness and death, and obviously, unfortunately, through security, through hacking and all the rest of it. But yeah, misplacing of confidential information is not something new. It's something that's been a big problem for a long time. And the market was responding to this problem, it seemed, by utilizing hardware services or products that you can hold in your hand, tangible instruments and all the rest of it, that really was felt as shifting a blockchain problem to a Web 2 solution. And we're telling the world, we're all in this space at conferences and these events all the time, trying to convince the world that blockchain and Web3 is the way forward. And then you say to them, yeah, but we're going to use this old technology. We're going to go back the way because we don't trust our own security enough to build something using the very thing we're telling you guys to get on board with. So it was important for us that we actually developed a full blockchain solution to this inherent blockchain problem. And I think now that we're on mainnet, I think we've got closer to achieving that, and I think we're looking forward now to 2024 and turning this into more of an onboarding, more like a business development strategy side of a project's journey than what it's been from conceptualizing and then design and then all the sort of stuff that went along with building the skeleton and laying out the foundations. We've far surpassed that point now, and very proud after 2 years that we have got a product that's performing very well, considering it's been a tough journey.
Yeah, so really it started out with more of a focus on storing I guess just a seed phrase was really the initial idea, being able to recover a seed phrase for a crypto wallet. And since that time, I think you've kind of expanded your vision and what the StrongBox is able to store and retrieve. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. And it was something that we wanted to tackle because the industry, again, I was talking about how we're trying to pull people into this space. Generally speaking, we're all quite passionate about it from different angles and different agendas that bring us in, whether it's through one network or another network. Kind of collectively, I think we all agree that we're maximalists for blockchain in some capacity. Even the degens, with our meme tokens or NFTs or whatever it might be, anything like that. We have got synergy in the sense that we're all here using those services and have to utilize wallets to do that. And for us, it felt like a bit of a niche or an area of the market where there was a huge gap and a massive opportunity to come in and really develop a solution that would allow the industry to have a bit more confidence in onboarding new users to the space. Because for the longest time, one of the biggest things that goes on in the space is this quest for liquidity. You hear projects talking about they need money and they need to build. A lot of the time they keep running out of money because they don't really have anything to offer, and they keep developing out ideas and things never really go anywhere. And a lot of the ideas are, my own opinion sometimes in this space and Web3 and all the rest of it, is that people are searching for solutions to problems that don't even exist. And yeah, maybe it's quite cool that they've got a bit of code that can do a certain thing, but when it comes to real world use case, can it actually do something? So for us, while our product's not the most exciting in terms of it's not a game, it's not something that people can trade on or whatever. It's your gateway to security. It's your gateway to the space, backing up your credentials. It was why we saw it that way. But as I said earlier on there at the top, that really the seed phrase really made us quickly realize that why are we stopping there? Because people want to protect other forms of information, and they're currently doing it on cloud. And we all sort of know the sort of issues with centralization associated with cloud servers and cloud not servers, cloud companies and third parties that kind of play the intermediary role in these capacities. So that was something as well. We're like, well, people are going to if there's a market for this, then there's a market for that, and there clearly is, because there's a lot of great companies and great kind of Web3 projects that are developing these solutions. I think the kicker for us, there's two things here. There's never there's never one project that can service the whole industry, right? So when it comes to data and the growth of data, there was never going to be one project that could do all of it under one roof. And you've also got brand loyalty as well. You've got customers that prefer a certain brand for whatever reason. That's why people use Android, others use Apple. So monopoly was, I don't think it's good, and I don't think it was ever going to happen anyway. So that doesn't put us off. It just tells us there's a thriving market and a booming market going towards more data. And I'm forgetting now what the second point to that was. There was the seed phrase we said, the marketing, and then I've lost my train of thought, Patrick. So back to you, I'm afraid. I think you're muted, Patrick. So I think Patrick's dropped out. So is it the guest turns host? Is that what happens here? Because I don't think we've got a co-host up here. So I think we have to wait for Patrick to come back.
Yeah, I guess Patrick dropped off.
Hey, Lisa.
Okay, Patrick's back. Are we good on the host?
No, I think we're struggling to get Patrick back up here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. We're back.
Sorry
We're trying to
about
get back into business.
Yeah, I dropped and I was trying to join back. Okay, that was the worst timing because it was right when you said, I heard you hand it over to me and I had just dropped off on the.
Yeah, I was lost my train of thought because I sort of thought that I dropped out, and I was like, don't tell me I'm speaking and people can't hear me. And then yeah, there was obviously something happened. So
no worries. Okay,
we shall let's pick up from here. Let's go. Why don't we start with a fresh question, because that, I think, trying to pick up from where we were will never work. So let's go to another question.
So let's just break it down for somebody who's interested in using this. Why would they want to use it? We've said that they can store seed phrases, they can store other types of confidential data. And the idea is that this is a decentralized solution. So you're not just storing this on some centralized cloud provider that, you don't really control you don't really own that data, not your keys, not your crypto, not your keys, not your data. It's a risk of being deleted by that service provider. It's just really putting the trust in their hands in a centralized solution. So it's a decentralized solution to that problem. What can users store other than seed phrases? Are there any limitations on like the file size? I would imagine there probably is.
Yeah, at the moment in this early version, there's definitely going to be limitations. Don't ask me to quote the number. I can honestly not remember, but it's not megabytes, it's gigabytes, which is a good start. I know that much. And you prompted me to remember the second point of what I was wanting to say. So with our solution as well, I guess the other thing, it's kind of answering what you're saying now. The thing that really made our solution a bit different was this inheritance layer as well, which we'll get into how that actually works in a little bit. So I don't think people would use our solution because it's decentralized. I think people use blockchain because these blockchain solutions because they're decentralized. So I think that brings, and I make that point because when you're thinking of it from a marketing perspective, we need to think about who our competitors are, and our competitors are actually other decentralized platforms in the space in a lot of ways, because the people that have made it over this far have probably made the choice that they don't want to be doing anything with things like Google or iCloud or places like that. So yes, file types, the idea will be that we can obviously cover all types of files. And actually, to be honest, the way it is at the moment, people can do that. As you say, it's not as recoverable in a higher speed time that you would be used to with something like Google Drive, but then you're also getting all the added benefits of self-custody, removing that sort of centralized power away from them as well. So there's this aspect, and people will have that dilemma of, well, what's really important to me and really what should be kept safe, and that's why we call it StrongBox, because StrongBox is something where you're keeping that very, very important and confidential information. It's extremely sensitive to you, to your family, to your legacy, effectively, which is why we call it Serenity Shield. It's a shield for your peace of mind, and that is what I think separates us. I think there'll be other solutions that do come to the market that are geared more towards, you know, big storage is what they want to do, and that will be something we go into a market with more of the corporate solution. But for the day-to-day user, that's not necessarily what every retail user wants to be doing. You know, in a lot of cases, I think that the use case here will be knowing that they've got a solution that allows them to back up for themselves and also forward plan and estate plan for the future of their, usually probably their children, I would imagine. A lot of people talk about their spouse, their wife or husband or something, but I think it really does bother people when they think more about their children. You know, it's strange to me because in the physical world, we've all become so accustomed to having properties, having vehicles, even things like, I'm looking at my two guitars at the moment, my musical instruments that we've gathered over time, things that are precious to us that we effectively leave in paper wills through a notary or a lawyer. And these services are very, very expensive, you know, at the end of life, and then it has to go through a notary. We don't have these services in place for the decentralized space because it's decentralized, and that's the whole thing. So we need to start encouraging, and I think that will be through education, where we make people aware of the fact that these assets, while you can't hold them in your hand, they are value. It is value. We were talking about this in the team earlier on, Justin and I, that even, you know, people that are holding dog tokens and things that seem trivial and we laugh at them, we forget people still have there's value, there's physical asset value in those. And while we might joke about it as a kind of community sometimes about what they mean in terms of utility and function, for whatever reason, they still carry that cost element to their value. And we need to be ensuring people are taking the necessary steps as they enter the space to utilize tools like StrongBox to back up their credentials, have a good approach to set up, and then surely you're going to navigate into the space a bit more confident using a wallet, because a lot of the time, what do we hear about people that don't know crypto? I don't feel comfortable using a wallet. I don't like the idea of this wallet thing, because they're very, very nervous about misplacing a password. In other cases, they're just not sure of how to use it. And something we, as humans, if we don't know something, we're very wary of it. We're skeptical. We can be very suspicious. So we need to try and break these barriers down if we're serious about trying to onboard users. You know, you look at Secret Network, your whole utilities privacy, there's going to be a whole need for that. But before we even get people in to even think about talking about privacy, they've got this barrier in front of their face of this wallet. And that's what I think is an industry we have to start thinking outside the 4% or 5% of the world that are using cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies, and try to encourage others, because I don't know what it's like for everyone listening or where you guys come from in the world, but certainly in my social circle, people think, I mean, one of my best friends, he just thinks the whole thing's a joke. You know, he thinks that everything we do is, he calls it charlatans. I wouldn't even say he calls it's nothing to do with being scammy. He's a person that still feels old hat, that feels that cash is king. The technology, while it'll evolve, it still needs to be something tangible. And I think in there is where the problem is that Web3 seems it's such a stretch for a lot of people to think about. And I don't think we've been doing a great job as an industry to take away that stigma. And I think we need to start by putting solutions like StrongBox, and there'll be so many others that are now moving towards that trajectory of making it safer, easier, and more practical for people to come to the space.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think probably the best comparison, in my mind at least, as to like what kind of Web 2 solution could be used for something similar would be like a password manager like Bitwarden or LastPass. Do you see Serenity Shield as being like a Web3 version of those things in a way?
To some extent, yeah, but so much more with the layer of data storage that it has there as well. As I said, there's that element to it as well, where I don't know all of these products, but I don't believe they give you the capacity for storage. I mean, our basic package will be 10 gigabytes standard, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
sure.
most of them are pretty limited.
Yeah, I
But
think they're
yeah,
quite
most of them are
low.
limited to like credential storage, saving passwords and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Again, I've kind of lost track. There's so many product sellers, but I don't know how many of them now offer like even inheritance, even in that space. You know, I know it's not decentralized necessarily, but I don't even know how many of them
Yeah,
are doing that as well. That's another thing.
yeah, that definitely makes Serenity Shield a unique offering, I think, is that um, that ability to pass on your credentials and your data to like a close family member or whoever you deem as your successor in the situation of your death, or maybe you just get locked out or something like that. So it's nice that you have a backup plan just in case something happens and you lose access to that data. You can put somebody else in your life as a inheritor of that data. So I think you talked about that a little bit. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more about like exactly
How
how
it
that
works.
works and how somebody can, yeah,
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll give it, as I said before, I'm more on the front facing side of things, but I'm always happy to give a kind of high level overview. But if people have got questions about the more inner workings of the technology or the code behind it, certainly those are questions that they can pass to the team and we'll ask. But from a high level perspective, we've tried to keep the user interface as user friendly and as kind of uh, relatable to other applications that they'll be used to in their day-to-day life. So it works by simply coming to the browser or the address like you would with any application and creating an account, either logging back in or creating an account for the first time. You would then be greeted with a very kind of intuitive, simple application panel. And at that point, you are prompted to either, create a personal Strongbox, or we call it a nominee Strongbox, where you can nominate someone also as an inheritor. You would then be kind of again prompted to, do you want to store a seed phrase? Do you want to upload a document? So the seed phrase, if you picture the seed phrase function, first of all, you'd give it a name. So let's say it's a phantom wallet. I want to protect this as phantom wallet. So you give it a name, and then you go in and you would pick what kind of wallet is this? It's a DEX wallet. Is it a centralized exchange password? Whatever it might be, you put the relevant thing in, and it will then present you with the option of 12 or 24 boxes. Let's say you just want your 12 boxes. You literally put your code in, nice and simple, and that is then closed off. Back we go. Maybe upload a couple of documents, because you can do so many. You can do a few things in one go with your Strongbox. At that point, let's say we now want to allocate a wife or a husband. Again, we would put their contact information, their notifications, all that kind of stuff in. Their wallet address as well for their NFT. We might need to set them a wallet up. That's something else that needs to be talked about probably at a later time. But at that point, this is where secrets start coming in now. So that information is encrypted in our panel, it then gets sent to secret network. That information, the unlock information that is stored in a private smart contract, all of that, those private credentials are stored in one of the secret network's private smart contracts. It's further encrypted on your side before coming back. The viewing key for that smart contract comes back to Serenity Shield. At that point, we take the viewing key and we split it into 3 parts. And we store those 3 parts on 3 NFT keys. So the way it works is 1 key stays with the owner or the account creator. Key number 2 goes to Serenity Shield, which is then deployed to one of our vault spaces. And key number 3 is intended for the benefactor or the inheritor of the account and remains inactive. That's quite important initially until the parameters of the smart contract are set. Now, when you're doing your setup of the Strongbox and you're putting your inheritor's name or the nominee's name into the account, you will also be prompted to set your inactivity period. So you can define the inactivity period that you want. So if you don't return to your account, we will then notify you. If you then don't respond to the notifications over a period of time, it would then trigger based on the smart contract that you have. So that's how that 3rd key works. But to recover the information in the private smart contract, you will require 2 of the 3 keys to get the information back. So that in a very high level, and I'm sure there's probably technical people with more technical questions about the inner workings of that. But that's a very high-level overview of how the system works.
That's really
Thank you.
cool. Just jumping in a bit. So at Shapeshift, that was one of the biggest challenges that we were facing, was this whole idea, which is, you said, the seed of how Serenity Shield was born. It's how do you make it easier for people to manage their private keys without compromising the ethos of your keys, your crypto? And it's a hard problem. It's really not easy. I'm curious if I can ask. Sorry, Patrick, to interrupt the flow, but I just wanted to know a clarification on. Thank you for breaking down how Serenity Shield works. I'm just wondering if you're introducing an element of non-custodianship of your own keys in there, which I don't object to. I don't see another way to solve the problem. I'm just wondering, is this a decentralized solution, or is there a centralized component to it?
Well, that's why we use private smart contracts, because the whole premise is that no one can see the private smart contract, and no one therefore can hold it. I mean, we're not. You don't have. The other thing is you don't have to store them there. It's like you don't have to use our solution. It's just one solution. So by storing them there, you could also store them somewhere else. It's not. I think the difference, the way I look at it is, when you think of centralized control of keys, they literally have our keys. You know, at all times. We can't really take them back without removing the account. We remove the account, we can't use the service. So there's a bit, that's where I see it a little bit different. I mean, I think if there wasn't the layer of privacy, which is where this gets really important, and this is why privacy is a fundamental human right, because the way I look at it is, I always say, from a marketing point of view, how would you sort of package this up? And I'm looking at it simply as what happens in your StrongBox stays in your StrongBox. We don't know, Secret doesn't know, and that's the whole layer of privacy. Now you're getting into the realms of, do you trust the technology that's behind it? And if we start getting to that point, then I'd say as an industry we should probably go back the way, because if we can't move forward until we reach consensus on what's verifiable kind of network and all the rest of it, then we've not got what we think we have. And that's back to the point I was saying earlier on about blockchain solution for a blockchain problem. The way that we're going, like, I think we need to be definitely relying more on the technology that we have and what we're building, rather than going back the way. So I don't know if that does that kind of at least it's my opinion on it. I don't know if that kind of clarifies that or sense, but that's the way I look at it.
I'm going to take it like it too extreme, and I know this is not what you said, but
sure, of course.
Kind of where I'm going is, from what you said, is a viewpoint that I could embrace, which is that there's no point in having decentralization if no one can use it. So it has to be usable.
Yes. Because I mean, we start getting into more like sociology now, because we start getting into the realms of anarchy and things like that as well. This is where I always say, like, I think decentralization has to exist within a centralized world. Because we're getting into the realms of power, and that's what a lot of this all comes down to. I think the purists, when it comes to decentralization, live in a perfect world, in an ideal situation where if we were all equal, then it would just work fine. This is where the trust element with the various networks comes in as well. And this is why there's so much nervousness from people in the real world, as we call it, in the Web2 space, that coming over. I think you raise a very good point, and I actually tend to agree with what you're saying there. You know, I don't think there is any there's no 100% in life. Obviously, there's no guarantee of 100% on anything other than death, and even then, people say we live forever. So it's not something that I think is wrong what you're saying. I kind of actually tend to support, but I do think we need to be trying to move forward towards that idealism that we're looking for, but being aware that it's probably never going to be realised.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I booted myself out of the room. Am I still here?
No, you're still here. You're still here.
Still here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And my whole goal really has been for the last 6 years is mainstream adoption, right? And I respect the purist perspective of decentralization. Everything has to be decentralized. I want things to be practical enough to be adopted, and like it's a clash. So I do know a lot of people who are total purists and would not accept any form of centralization, no matter what the benefit. But I just don't know how viable that is in the long term. I agree we need to be moving towards that ideal state, but how do we get there and still make it usable? That I'm glad that you're tackling the problem, because I feel like it's a huge problem and someone needs to be completely focused on it in order to solve it. It can't be a side thing.
I think what you said there made me think about what we're really actually trying to do. We're not catering for the 0.1% of people that in the world, and you're talking about the 1% of the 1% here that are looking for pure decentralization. I don't think that's. I don't think it's achievable in the near future. I don't even think if I want it to be achievable, because I do believe that we need sort of systems that we agree on as well. And sometimes that requires some form of centralization somewhere. And you're talking to someone here that completely hates the system, actually, as well. I should point that out. But I'm also practical and pragmatic about the sort of social impact of decentralization of everything. Not just currency and money, but if we decentralize the whole system and took power away from everything, because I don't believe all centralization is bad. I do think it achieves a lot of good things in the world. You need to, in fact, see, you need to put it into the wider concept then of like economy as well. Like, what does centralization look like within a socialist system? What does it look like within a capitalist system? What does it look like in a post-capitalist system, which is arguably where we're going now? So these things completely change our perspective of decentralization. And I think that's very important, that when you're pure, back to my point earlier on, when you're 100% sure about something, I'm always saying to people, I don't think that's good. I've always said one of the things one of the things I don't like in life is isms, because ism means that you have to take an absolute position. And I'm a person that's open-minded enough that I'm willing to change my mind if someone can present evidence. And I think when you're within an ism, you're sort of entrenched in a position, and it's difficult. We need to be dynamic and practical about what we need versus what's possible. Not and as you say, I think we're tackling a problem, and we're definitely moving it in the right direction. Whether people will always find holes and criticise, because what they'll say is, yeah, but it's not perfect. Well, nothing ever is. If it was perfect, then there would be no problem to solve. So that's my take on it. And again, it's more philosophical angle and more like political, I guess, and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
but
right.
that I think
Pragmatic.
that is the most important. Yeah, definitely.
Pragmatic. And I would draw a parallel between the difference between Bitcoin and ETH, right? The maximalism, right? Bitcoin maximalism is highly related to decentralism. And I'm just using these isms because you mentioned isms.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
But it's not very practical. Yes, Bitcoin is the most decentralized blockchain and probably always will be. And yes, it was launched by people who didn't have an agenda for increasing their own wealth. That's great. However, it's just not very practical for implementing DeFi. You have to do so much extra work as opposed to ETH, which has the built-in virtual machine. So this is the process of evolution. And yes, it's not perfect, like you said, but it's better in ways. The advantages are enough that it's worth sacrificing some of that idealism.
Exactly, and I think the key takeaway on this point here is that I think people need to celebrate the small victories where we can have them. And let me give a silly example. I personally, I'm not, this isn't a company I'm shilling, maybe others in privacy space use it as well. I use Mulvad VPN, and I pay for it using Monero. And for me, that's a small victory, right? And it's not the whole universe over that we can pay everything in Monero, but for me, these things are pretty cool that we can do them, and more of these services will come through. If we can decentralize some things and empower ourselves where we can, I think it's moving to a better situation for all. But to dream that tomorrow we'll wake up and it's going to be all decentralized and everyone will be happy, I don't think so. Our nature, some people are sensitive, some people are greedy, some people are aggressive. We've all got these different traits, and asking everyone to agree and be agreeable to a system that would work for all, I don't think it's realistic. And I don't think it would be a world I would want to live in anyway. I think it would be a very boring place if we were all the same and all sort of too equal. But what we need to try and aspire to is removing monopolies, I think, and blockchain allows us to do that. And for our species in our time, it's definitely, as Hoss, as you guys probably know, Cosmos Hoss, he always says this, it's probably the last chance for our species, to re-empower ourselves a little bit. So that's where, and this stuff's actually all very relevant. I'll tell you why. A lot of the setup for Serenity Shield and the conceptualization was born out of synergy between my personality, Boris's personality, Venkat, and things that we aspire to try and achieve. Boris and I, particularly when it comes to sort of our social beliefs and everything like that, we're very, very similar as people. So when we wanted to do this, there is that essence at the core of it all, and it is quite important. I know we've went off on a bit of a tangent, but it's actually quite important because I tend to find that when I've been to various events this year, that people do share similar philosophies. Not exactly the same, but there's a sort of underlying sharing of ethics and philosophy in this world. The rivalries typically start coming in when you start talking to validators and people like that have got these kind of opinions on how networks should run, and then politics comes into it all. But in the overall grand philosophy, there's, as I said at the top of the call, we all sort of agree that we want to be in blockchain. So how do we get more people to feel that way? I think that's the first hurdle. Get them over here, and then we'll talk about the politics of blockchain later. And then you'll see they start centralizing themselves within decentralized space. And that's because all humans, as Orwell always talked about, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And that exists in all aspects of nature, and it will exist in blockchain as well.
Loving this discussion. I'm just going to jump in here and remind people that you can actually try Serenity Shield right now for free. Is that right?
Yes, we're giving, it's kind of twofold again for transparency. So there's 5,000 slots available for people to come in and try the product for free for 6 months. I believe it's starting from the moment your account rather than it being a 6-month window for everyone. We're giving a basic level of about 500 megabytes of storage as well, along with one personal StrongBox, one nominee StrongBox, something else included. I think that it's good because we were talking about the fact that the account, which is the minting of those NFTs. So there's those NFTs that are true NFTs because they're not tradable, they're not for sale, they're literally digital keys that unlock the box. You can mint those keys on any EVM network at the moment, and eventually there'll be other layers brought in. So again, it's a good proper multi-chain solution, and we want to give people a chance to try it, and also knowing that we've still got a lot of features and things now that we're on mainnet that we want to bring in before we kind of really start pushing it and as a real product or a finished product. But the cost of minting those NFTs is approximately $50. There's a cost in the network for the 3 NFTs, and then there's the gas. So the free offering is great because it covers that for you forever. I mean, if you set up a box and you don't want to use it right now, it means you can use it again in the future. So even coming in and just taking advantage of that, the project is going to cover that cost for 5,000 people, plus the first year's subscription cost, which is about $23. I think it works out for 10 gigabytes included as well with your recoverability, your inheritance. And people that are saying, well, are you charging for a product? Well, it costs money to make a product, it costs money to run a product, it costs money to run a team. So there is costs associated with that, and all costs are payable in our native token Search. So another reason why we wanted it to be free at the moment is because we didn't want to delay in people getting to use the product, which requires the token to actually pay for subscription. So our token goes live in about 2 weeks, and coming to a couple of exchanges that we'll announce very, very soon. The thing is, you'll never really have to hold the token if you don't want to. If it's just if you're purely a product user and you just want to pay for the service, let's say you're using a wallet like Network, you mint your NFTs, you want to pay for the service for 1 year. There's a swap feature with an API built in. It would literally just buy the tokens on your behalf. You wouldn't even see it happen. It'll do it in the background, and you'll have your subscription. So effectively, you can pay in USDT, and that benefits the ecosystem. However, by holding tokens as well, assuming we get this right, and assuming we do onboard users and we can grow a base, well, the revenue generated for that will also result in some profit as well. So what we want to do with the profit from the revenue is also redistribute a percentage back to the token holders as well. So unlike other like reward schemes that pay holders for holding the token that come from liquidity pools or from charts, this is actually quite useful. It's more like a stocks and shares thing where it's dividends almost coming from the revenue that's been made by the company. So you're not relying on it coming from the chart or coming from the token sort of value out there in liquidity pools, which is really, I think, for me, I think that's a bit better and definitely something that gives incentive.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how you're not requiring people to actually interact with the token. Again, that goes right back to making it simpler for people to come into this space. What are the barriers? Remove the barriers, right? Like no new person wants to buy a token that they don't know about. There's so many unknowns, and just being able to buy it with USDT and having it automatically do it for you, I think that is very much aligned with the ethos that you said you started with. So high integrity there.
We're trying. I mean, the founding team has been successful over the years. You know, we're guys that have kind of passionate about developing a product, bringing it to market, and doing well with it. And we're very true to ourselves as well. I mean, at the end of the day, if the product's usable and it's good, people will want to come and use it, we hope, and from there then, you know, we'll have a full-fledged ecosystem, and round about that there's other products and services that we want to roll out in the future. Potentially even a rebrand for Serenity Shield we're talking about as well, because of what we want to do with the wider ecosystem. And really early next year, we're already, I mean, turning our sights to a couple of things: biometric integration for some elements of it, and also AI, which I think the AI in the background would be intended more for things like selecting which vault the second NFT goes to, using algorithms for checking randomness. Again, I'm not technical, but I know that that's what they're looking at. So these are things in the future that might emerge as well. But at this stage, at this juncture, as I said, it's a good chance for people to come in and at least try it, set up an account, and if they don't ever use the service again, at least it's there if they change their mind, and there's no cost for it. They remove that cost of whatever it was, about $50 plus setup. So you're about $75 per account. So it's a nice saving to make, and gives you the option in the future if you want to use it.
Yeah, so I pinned the announcement about that in the space. So if anyone's interested in checking that out, Nikos did say that there's a limited amount of open slots yet, so probably better to do that sooner rather than later before they fill up. But there are 5,000 free trials available if you want to check that out and create a StrongBox right now.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. I mean, I think there's a counter running on this anyway. So obviously, right now we've just announced it, so there's definitely lots of space. It's not like all these Web3 products come to the market and everyone's rushing to use them, but they will. I mean, we had over 5,000 in testnet. So I think there was, in fact, I think it was near 6,000 on the testnet, and we didn't push it too hard. So I think we're hoping that people will take it up over the next kind of matter of weeks or whatever. But yeah, as I say, it's quite user friendly, you know, and simply having your wallet connect and do what you have to do. Give it a try. As I say as well, nothing's perfect, so we're always looking for good feedback and things that people would like to see, features they would like us to change. Because if we see a pattern in the response and the feedback, then it's people trying to tell us something. So we would listen to that. It's not a case of, you know, we're stubborn, this is our product. It's very much a product that's made for people to use. So we need people to tell us what's good about it, what's bad about it. And testnet done that to an extent, but moving forward, you know, when you're starting to use a product in the day-to-day real life, it's important that we're getting that feedback. Like when you have a mobile phone, you get new versions coming out all the time. They change based on, you know, feedback and what works, what doesn't work. It's going to be the same for StrongBox. It'll change massively, I think, over the next year. I think you'll see that it becomes a very dynamic thing, and there's other features that we will be including within, so that we have it more like a hub of services and features where people get that included as part of their package. There's basically going to be 3 packages to choose from. Right now there will only really be one that people want to use, but in the future when we develop the other products and services, then I think others will opt for those as well.
Awesome. Well, we have about 10 minutes left. I wanted to make sure we save some time for questions from the audience. So if anybody in the audience has any questions for the Serenity Shield team, feel free to go ahead and put your hands up. And while we're waiting on questions, is there anything we haven't already covered that you wanted to mention, Nikos?
No, I think we'll just show the fact that we've got a token launching in a couple of weeks. It's been, I said earlier to you, Patrick, it's been really tiring. Honestly, between trying to navigate the Web3 space and find who's good, who's organic, and who's not, it's been tough. A lot of sleepless nights and long hours. But we have had this dilemma of shifting all of our focus from being this blockchain technology now to getting people behind the token. Because as you will know, Patrick, we never ever raised funds through VC. We never done it through the token. We self-funded. We did do some private sales eventually for people that wanted to get involved early. But we were rare in the sense that we didn't use our token as a crowdfunding mechanism. We wanted to have it. We were always wanted to have a product before we launched the token, so that people had a little bit of confidence that we weren't using their money to fund the development of an idea, which lets a lot of projects down because they either run out of funds or someone in the team leaves and the project doesn't get finished. There's various reasons it happens, and we've all seen it, and it's become a bit tiring with all the 20,000 plus projects and networks and different things that have emerged in crypto. That's became a little bit tough for people to swallow. So now we can shift our focus to being cryptocurrency for 5 minutes, but we don't want to stay in that realm too long. But it is important that we raise attention for the fact that our token is part of an ecosystem, and that ecosystem, we want it to thrive. We want people to come in and support it, and we want them to get benefit in the future for supporting that. And as I said earlier on, there'll be revenue share and all the rest of it develops as we grow. I'm a very honest guy. I don't think anyone's don't expect to see any revenue coming back anytime soon, because we need to onboard clients before that happens. But that's a reality. What I do anticipate is probably from January, we will start to see people slowly but surely come in using the product, and from there that will result in people purchasing the token, which in return I strongly hope brings value to the ecosystem. So that's what we've got coming up immediately. That's where all our focus is at the moment. Mainnet's there. Now it's on to token launch. So anyone that's looking and you see the tag $Search, our token is SERSH, Search. It's coming to a couple of fairly good exchanges, I'm sure everyone will know, and it will be live on the 18th of December. I'm giving you a bit of alpha. We haven't even announced that publicly, but for the friends of Secret and the people here that have supported us, that's the date that we'll be going on exchange.
You heard it here first. There's a little bit of alpha. That's awesome, Nikos. Sounds like you guys have a lot to look forward to, and we're going to be watching you, and hopefully we can continue working with you and supporting you, and it's exciting. So looking forward to that. I don't see any questions from the audience, but before we wrap up, how can people get involved with the Serenity community? What's the best way to get involved and follow you?
There's all the usual ways, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, of course. But I think the most active way someone can get involved, it depends on personality types. Again, if people want to get involved in the usual quests and day-to-day stuff, we've got a couple of community managers that push all that out. They can join the Zealy as well. But those links are available if they join the Telegram or the Discord. And to be honest, the best way you can support it is just being an advocate for blockchain and telling people about what we're all doing. It's a long struggle, a long road ahead. It's not going to be easy. It's genuinely like everything we touched on earlier on, which was a great conversation, I felt. I think we've got a long way to go, and we're just playing our small part. I think collaboration is the key, and collaboration involves the community as well. I was a community member for the longest time, and now I'm sitting on a team. I still sometimes find it very strange, but that's what happens, because there's actually not that many of us when you look at the percentage of the globe that's in this game and in this area. I do hope. I mean, I'm looking at my screen just now and I see GTA 6 AI, and there's a space going on with GTA 6 and AI influencers and getting rich. I think that's everything that's wrong with the world, actually. But nevertheless, that's how people can get involved. Is really starting to fight for blockchain and do their bit, and not just for Serenity Shield, but just for the industry in general. And let's make some noise. So, thanks as always, Patrick. Thanks to Secret always for giving us support. I shared a lot of time this year with some of your team at various events that we attended. Fantastic, and I hope also, I've got a feeling for privacy in general. I think things are going to be good next year. I'm hoping that Secret sees a nice bounce in the ecosystem as well, and things are looking up for everyone. So good time to be launching, I feel.
Thank you. Yeah, I've just put a little plug in for the fact that we are relaunching our grant program, Secret Labs grant program on the network. And so there's an opportunity for more projects to build on Secret. And we're very proud of our ecosystem and dApps, such as Serenity Shield, who are just building amazing technology that makes the world better. And that's what we're looking for. We want more projects on our network. So feel free, if you have an idea, if you have a good team behind you, feel free to apply for a grant. There's very specific focus areas for us right now. And we hope to get some more amazing projects like Serenity Shield.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming to Secret Spaces this week. We'll be back next week at our usual time, Tuesday at 5 p.m. UTC. And until then, everybody have a good week.
Take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.